I am Amy Weiner. I am a software sales advisor at Better Impact, and I've been there for 7 years now, supporting both very small and very large organizations across the eastern half of the United States. My favorite thing about what I do is the people that I talk to every day. It's always very interesting for me to find out exactly, what people's passions are, what their challenges are, and then help them navigate what could be their best path, the best solution to finding something for their volunteer management needs. In my spare time, I love to spend time with family. And I've got two rescues, Polly and Gus, and I love to garden year round, both indoors and out. We've got a lot to unpack today, but I'd like to start today's presentation just by getting to know you a little better. You could open your chat. I've got a few questions to ask, and if you will answer with the corresponding number, that would help me out a little. So have you ever used a volunteer management software or VMS? Answer 1 for yes, 2 for no, or 3 for not sure. So I'm seeing a lot of ones for yes, current VMS users, 2s. Okay. Great, thank you so much. All right. Let's go into question number 2. What tool are you using the most to manage your volunteer program now? Is it 1, you're using spreadsheets, 2, a current VMS, or 3, something else altogether? Okay. A lot of 2s. All of the above. Okay. Do you ever feel like this? When I look at this person, I see someone who may be feeling overwhelmed, discouraged, perhaps even defeated, frustrated, not extremely happy. We've all had days where we felt like that, but more than half of the people, did you know, are unhappy at work because of the software tools that they're using. Have you ever become dissatisfied at work due to missing or perhaps mismatched software? This stat comes from G2's 2019 State of Software Happiness Report. And if you're unfamiliar with G2, it's a marketplace where you can go to search and find software solutions that cater to your needs. There's even a category on there for volunteer management software. So you could look up tools in this category. Being provided the right tools to perform your job plays into your level of job satisfaction. When the right tools aren't in place, our level of efficiency and effectiveness decreases. This is one factor that can contribute to our unhappiness in our role. It's important to have the right tools to do your job. Project managers, accountants, sales, and marketing, many professions have software designed for their roles that make their work easier and make their processes run more efficiently. and so can you. Volunteer engagement professionals with the right VMS can have software that's specifically designed to recruit new volunteers, screen them, provide training, onboarding, whatever that happens to look like for you, and track where they are in that process. Scheduling, communications, logging time and reporting, tracking and recording data, and so much more. And then for volunteers, it gives them an easy way to apply, to receive and send communications, sign up for vacancies in your schedule, manage their own schedule. How many people get volunteers that call in and ask when they're on the schedule or what spots do you have available? They can even update their profile information, log their own hours, and report on their contributions. Let's get you to feeling more like this. There are great benefits to using a solution designed for the work you do, a VMS. Time savings creates efficiencies, accuracies, data security, which equals a better use of your time. It includes better reporting, better communications, better stakeholder engagement, better data security and confidentiality, which mitigates risk, better data integrity, better value in consolidating the number of systems in use. Could include better visibility of your program, and the list goes on, but the result is the same. It's better, better, better. The goal here is to move from a state where we are less productive, less efficient, where we're overwhelmed with the tools we have to do our jobs, to a desired state of consistency, accuracy, security, and efficiency. To land at that better place, the gap that we need to close is determined during your journey. A change must happen. You can get there and you will get there, but you and or your team must acknowledge that to do so will require change. We cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them. Therefore, it's important to recognize that how we think can be perpetuating the problems we're experiencing and hindering us from getting to the desired state, that better place. Are you and or your team willing and ready to shift your way of thinking to reach that desired state? Let's talk a little bit about what's preventing change. Attitudes. Attitudes are our learned ways of responding to people and situations based on the beliefs, values, and assumptions we hold that are reflected in our behavior. Here are some attitudes you may find you or your colleagues, which could include your leadership team, volunteers, your board of directors, and so on, face when contemplating a system change. We can't afford software. My question is always, what is the lack of software costing you? We use so many tools. Aren't they disconnected? Disconnected tools can lead to duplicated or inaccurate information. Spreadsheets are free. Well, sure, they're free, but they aren't designed to manage your volunteers. I already use my donor software to manage my volunteers. Donor software is not designed to manage or engage with volunteers. My volunteers can't use technology. Really? Is this a fact or is it an assumption? If you want to move that needle to distance yourselves and your program from the problems being experienced and land in a better spot, change is the answer. And given that our attitudes can appear at different times throughout the journey of change, this message here is a reminder to check in with yourself and ask your teammates to do the same before, during, and beyond this journey in terms of whether you and your attitude are creating friction or are you creating flow and supporting your team's ability to get to that desired state and reach the goal. Today, I will share with you a template that you and your team can follow to make the process of finding your VMS very easy. I'm always a fan of templates because it means that the groundwork has been laid before me, so it saves a big step. Let's reduce the heavy lifting for you and your team and reduce the uncertainty as well. Felt from wondering if you're making the right decisions or if you're even on the right path, and get you to using better tools to do your job. Others have done this before, and so can you. And you will do this. Let's get into the approach. First, we need to begin by defining your problem and setting up your goals. There can be many challenges that you're experiencing. And so this is a really important step. You'll share this with your leadership team to get their support and thumbs up, to form a project team to go the journey of finding the right VMS. But for them to understand why this is important, you need to define the main problems. The key here is to shed some light on the main problems, not all of the problems, as some are of greater priority due to their consequential impact on people and organization. Following this webinar, as I mentioned, you will receive the guide and worksheet to help your team on your journey to finding the right VMS. This portion of the template begins by formalizing your problem statement. On your worksheet, you'll begin by brainstorming and listing out some challenges and problems that are currently being faced. For example, too much time on data entry, lack of data integrity, people are unable to access the information that they need to do their job, make decisions, and so on. You'll get input from team members in terms of what they view as bigger problems. Ask your volunteer services team, your IT people, your volunteers. Indicate who's affected by this problem. Is it the volunteer coordinator, a certain department? Is it your volunteers? And what are the consequences if the problem isn't resolved? Could it potentially result in volunteer turnover, damage to your organization or program's reputation? So you'll want to identify your top 3 problems to include in your problem statement. The proposed solution is essentially what's seen on this slide, but feel free to reword that to your liking. Once you have your problem statement defined, you'll want to identify your goal. And again, what is seen on this slide can certainly be reworded to what fits the best for you and your team. Just make it concise. With your problem statement and your goal known, it's time to get these in front of leadership for thumbs up in support of your project. It's a team effort to select a VMS. So don't try to do this by yourselves. Taking a solo approach to choosing a system that so many people with so many different needs will be using. Everybody could just mute themselves until Q&A. So I don't hear interference. It's a recipe for falling short and not choosing the right VMS. A solo approach results in a narrow focus. Taking a team approach will have much better results because your entire team's needs will be taken into consideration. So who's on your team? Seeing the slide as together, everyone achieves more. And this is so true. Typically, we see any combination of these types of roles as part of your project team, beginning with a volunteer coordinator or manager. As key users of the system, these roles must be consulted and included on the team. Volunteers. This role should be included for the same reason. I recommend having no more than 2 volunteers on your team. Include 1 who is proficient with technology and 2, 1 who is not. So you can consider their challenges and address them throughout the journey. Inclusion leads to better buy-in. Your IT team. This role can assess the VMS for meeting system requirements and standards set by your organization, including your data security needs. If you don't have an IT department or a staff member in-house, consider outsourcing this valuable resource for your project. Or maybe you scan your volunteer base for such expertise. Your executive director and your board of directors, just depending on how your organization is structured. 1 or both of these tend to be the bookends to the VMS project in terms of getting the thumbs up to begin, and then the final thumbs up at the end to approve your VMS selection. And 5, a consultant or project manager. Some organizations choose to lean on the expertise of a consultant with experience leading organizations through a system selection. If you have the budget and prefer this approach, be sure to give them a seat at your team's table. So this is the project team part of the template. Finding a solution goes beyond just one person's problems. If you build a team, you will find a stronger solution in the long run. So enter your team's names, their titles, and then the purpose for their involvement. Now that we've identified who our team is, we're going to lean on the team's members to determine what our needs are. What are we looking for? And what do we need? Seven areas, beginning with the vendor profile. And so this is a critical step. The needs assessment becomes your measuring stick that you'll use against each vendor you consider. You're vetting more than an inanimate object known as a VMS. The company and the people who make up the company and make decisions that affect the product and the company matter. So choose your tech partners wisely. You'll want to evaluate your vendors on these categories. The vendor profile, so the stability of the vendor. What is their decision-making process for the product? Is a demo or trial offered? And if it is, if a trial is offered, is it the full version or is it a limited edition of the VMS? Technological. How well does the product and people keep your data secure? For example, two-factor authentication, are they HIPAA compliant? Are they ISO 27001 certified, etc.? Support. Test it for responsiveness. How is it available? Is it through phone calls, emails? Do you submit a ticket? Is it online chat? What are the locations and the hours of support? Does support have to be first purchased? Is it available during a trial period if a trial's offered? Look at the budget. So subscription and one-time costs, perhaps for onboarding, training. How does billing work? Are upgrades included in the subscription? Is it an annual cost or is it a monthly cost? Functional. Recruitment, communications, scheduling, reporting. Does it have a volunteer portal? Do they offer an app? Usability. How intuitive and how easy to use is the VMS? And scalability. What if your program grows or shrinks or changes over time? Will the VMS still be a good fit in those scenarios? In the guide, you'll have a great starting point of what to consider and ask. On this worksheet, you will see some predetermined questions you could gather information on. Please know you can remove and add in your own questions. The worksheet is something that you can edit and update over time. And you'll be creating a side-by-side comparison of the vendors you're reviewing. You will also list out your needs for the various categories we discussed. For example, support, budget, usability, and so on. Track how well vendors meet those needs via the V1, V2, V3, and so on columns. This way, you'll have a record to refer to along the way. On the needs section of your template, you'll be prioritizing your needs. And we'll get into this more on the next slide with an M for must have, S for should have, and N for nice to have. As you learn if the vendor can deliver, you can enter in the information. In developing your needs, prioritizing them again as must have with an M, should have with an S, or nice to have with an N. So a must have, the need is mandatory. These are requirements, non-negotiables. If a vendor does not have or does not meet this need, they should be immediately disqualified. And you shouldn't waver on that. The next are your should haves. So these are the needs that you've identified as being important. If not found, though, they would not immediately disqualify a VMS. And then the nice to haves. These are bonuses if they're found, but they have little impact on your selection if they're left out. A good example of a must-have might be that you require HIPAA compliance. Perhaps for a should-have, that it's important to you to have the ability to create email templates. And maybe nice to have would be automatic text reminders to volunteers for upcoming shifts. Next, let's talk about starting your journey. Your journey will move through 4 stages, which will take between 2 to 4 months. Determining who your VMS contenders will be is the first. 2 is demoing the contenders. 3, testing out some contender systems via a trial period. And 4, making your VMS selection and subscribing. So stage 1, determining the VMS contenders. Step 1 is where you'll have your identified project team assess their needs. You should allow 1 week for this. Have the team list their needs from a VMS. Then prioritize those needs and compile a list. In step 2, you'll review the needs assessment with your project team. You'll discuss the needs, the priorities, do any revisions, and then finalize. You should allow 1 to 2 hours for this step. Step 3 is vendor research. In this step, it's good to include your IT team and or your volunteer services team. You might ask, where do you find VMS vendors? Where do I even start? So here is a helpful shortcut. You'll visit vendors' websites and read reviews, and this link will help you do that. It'll give you a list of possible vendors and provide you with information about their features, what people say about them. Pay attention to what people are saying are the vendor's strengths and their weaknesses. You should contact the vendors to ask any questions you have discovery calls, allow 1 week for this. And in step 4, you will review the list of vendors with your project team, discuss findings, record why a vendor is qualified or disqualified, and shortlist. At the end of stage 1, your project team will shortlist those contenders, moving on to stage 2. On your worksheet, you'll be able to track who the vendor contenders were. The slide shows that 4 were being considered. And then it'll show which ones remain qualified, which ones, if any, have been disqualified, and the reasons. So that you have this for your own reference, and then also to share with the vendor should they follow up with you to inquire if you're still exploring their solution. Stage 2 is the demo. Have members of your team with outstanding functional questions attend the demo. If there are any pre-recorded demo videos available, have them watch those so they're aware of what the features and the capabilities of the VMS are. Book a demo for those outstanding questions to be answered. It's always a great idea to submit and share any questions ahead of time with the vendor prior to the demo so that the vendor can prepare for a much more productive meeting. You're essentially creating the script for the vendor to follow so that you can be sure that you get the questions that you have answered and that the items, the features that are most important to you are focused upon. Remember to also ask any other questions that arise when you're in the meeting with the VMS vendor. How long should you allow for this step? Each demo, just depending on the offerings, would be between 30 minutes to 2 hours. And a lot of this depends on the purpose for the demo, how many questions you have, how many people that are on your team will be in attendance. I just recommend booking them close together if you're doing more than one, so that the vendor demos and differences remain fresh in your mind. In step 2, your project team will discuss the findings from the demonstration, record the results, and shortlist. You should allow 1 to 2 hours for this meeting. At the end of stage 2, your project team will shortlist those contenders, moving on to stage 3. When you look at your worksheet, you'll see that you took, in this example, 3 vendors to this stage. 2 remain qualified, and for the one that's disqualified, you've recorded any reasons why. It's recommended that you don't take any more than 2 vendors into stage 3, which is the trial. The trial phase is about usability. Out of all of the problems that you identified, does it solve them? Have someone sign up for the trial and make sure that the person trialing the software tests the must-haves and should-haves your team identified. If you're trialing 2 VMS solutions, trial both at the same time. That way, you can do side-by-side comparisons and explore how solution A does X, and then check and see how solution B does X. Lean on support options, the online chat, help articles, and so on, so that you're able to evaluate these important features. How long should you allow to move through this step? Depending on the vendor, trial periods typically last anywhere from 7 to 30 days. So have a plan of what you want to explore during that time and block time to commit to the plan so that it may be achieved in the trial period and time frame. Then you'll meet with your project team to discuss your findings, record, and then you will select your best VMS. At the end of stage 3, your project team will now make its software selection. On the worksheet, you'll see that 2 vendors have made it to this stage. 1 remains qualified, and for the one that is now disqualified, you have recorded any reasons why. The last stage is crossing the finish line. A project team member will recommend the chosen VMS solution to the executive director and/or the board of directors, depending on how your organization is structured. To approve the chosen solution, the ED and/or board of directors may wish to review the vendor's licensing agreement and then approve moving forward with the software subscription. How long should you allow to move through this step? That depends. If your ED gives the final approval, this could occur as quickly as 1 day. If a board of directors is providing the approval, you may have to wait up to a month to get your topic on their agenda for approval. Plan, prepare, then execute the plan, and you'll choose wisely in the end with confidence. There's still some work to do with transitioning your program into your new VMS before launch. Congrats, though. At this point, you've treated this as the project that it should be and have set yourself and your team up for success. Change is now imminent for your team, but with this change, opportunity is created. As I mentioned earlier, I am a software sales advisor for Better Impact. Better Impact has been around for 23 years, and our clients represent many different types of nonprofits and are located in the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, and Latin America. Volunteer Impact is the VMS we offer, And it creates efficiencies, such as a way for volunteers to apply online, customizable volunteer profiles. You can track training and onboarding and requirements such as background checks, create e-learning modules, create efficiencies with your scheduling. You can text and email and have hours and outcomes reporting. We offer a volunteer portal, an app, and much, much more. So I'm going to share a link to our regional events page so that if any of you want to consider volunteer impact, you can start exploring that further by joining an upcoming webinar called Is Volunteer Impact the Right Software for My Volunteer Organization? So I'll share that with you. I'm also going to share the VMS PDU landing page so that all of you are able to request your certificate of completion for attending this webinar. I'm going to share that now. It has got to, you've got to click that before the webinar ends so that you can get that credit. So I'll go ahead and do that now, and then we will get started with Q&A. If you want to begin by typing your questions in the chat. Okay. All right. So those are the links for you. You can unmute yourselves if you have questions to ask. I'm always happy to, got a few minutes here at the end to get those questions answered. So one of them was, can we transfer all of our data from our current software, or do you have to start from scratch? Yes, absolutely. We are able to import all of the contact data as well as custom fields and qualifications from your current software. We can also import your historical hours. What other questions do you have for me? We have 19 people on the call now, so happy to get those questions answered for you.
Are you taking questions about specifically the product, Better Impact?
I can.
Okay.
Is there a fee for importing? There is a fee for importing. It's something that you can purchase a la carte. We also offer that as part of our Plus option. And I am happy to, I'll include, we have a link to schedule with me as well. So happy to discuss our fees and how that structure works. The next question is, does the VMS include any learning content, or would I need to purchase a separate LMS? Our e-learning modules allow you to drop in content. You can do that via PowerPoint, through a YouTube video. And after providing that, including that content, ask a series of questions. You determine what percentage of correct responses would mean a passing score. And then a requirement or qualification, as we call it in our software, would automatically change to reflect that. So we do provide that as well. Does the interface allow restricted pages for administrators only, like volunteer emergency information? Great question, Sharon. Yes, it does. Volunteers would not see other volunteers' information. We serve 9 counties. Can we set it up to where the volunteers only see volunteer opportunities in their county, or would they see all 9 counties? Yes, you can set that up to where they would only see those volunteer opportunities in their county. And you could even take it a step further. And so just because I'm part of the county doesn't mean that I see everything. My requirements or qualifications would also be part of determining what I could see and sign up for. You said that Better Impact is available in Latin America. Can my volunteers toggle from English to Spanish interface? The way that that works is you would have to switch within the portal to indicate that you wanted Spanish, and then those items would then appear in Spanish. Do you have separate applications for individuals and groups that sign up for volunteer events? Within each standard account, you can have up to 3 different applications and links to all of those on your website. Can volunteers use the system to email subsets of volunteers, for example, committees they serve on, and are those easy to edit? You can create committees in our software as an administrator, assign your volunteers to those committees based on any number of criteria, and then you can determine if you are allowing them to communicate with one another via the committees that they belong. And so, yes, they can accomplish that. We have a headquarter and 8 sites. Can it be set up so that the headquarters personnel are the main admins, but the site managers only have access to their data to administer? Yes, you certainly can. If an event has been scheduled and volunteers have signed up for the event, and then the event has been canceled, can you send out a cancellation notification to everyone who has signed up for the event? Yes, you have the ability to do that through email or text messaging. Great questions. Keep them coming. Is there additional charges for language translations? So the way that the language translations work, it's I can send you additional information on that. It's not really necessarily a language translation. It is that our software is available for those volunteers or admins in different languages, and those are not additional charges. When a volunteer signs up, for an event, do they receive a confirmation email? do they receive a reminder email before their shift? They would not receive an automatic confirmation email, but if they wanted to opt in for reminder emails before their shift, the automatic email reminders that a volunteer can opt into go out every 7 days, letting them know what they have 7 days at a glance. They can also opt into calendar syncs with iCalendar, Google, or Outlook. Is there a fee every time you need support from Better Impact, or just a one-time yearly fee? We do not charge for our support. That is something that is included whether you're trialing our software or if you're a client. And yes, your fee is one time and it's annual. Can you upload documents such as bylaws, handbooks, company descriptions, etc.? Yes, you can. You can even have volunteers upload documents into custom fields such as resumes, signed agreements, certifications. Still have a few more minutes. Can the system be set up for volunteers to sign up to events directly from the homepage? They're not able to sign up for events directly from your homepage. They can see those events as mini advertisements on your homepage, telling them what happens, how much of a time commitment, etc. They can't sign up for events unless they at least fill basic contact info in the form of an application, thus developing a profile in your database. Still have about 5 minutes if anybody else has other questions. During onboarding, can you hold the application for a time to perform a background check? During the hold, volunteers would not be able to sign up for shifts. Yes, you can certainly do that. Anyone else? Yes, you will have access to this recording. My pleasure. You're welcome, Sharon. Don't forget before you sign off to take advantage of those 2 links. The one is for your certificate and the other is for the other events and webinars that we have coming up in the very near future. My pleasure, Terry. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for your time and for spending this part of your Thursday with me. I hope that you found it productive and that you got something out of it. Okay, I'll go ahead and include that one for the event. Somebody does not have that. I'll go ahead and conclude since we're now at 2 o'clock. I did get one last question here. Yes, I do believe we do have some AmeriCorps seniors programs using Better Impact. And if you want to email me, then I can send you that information. I'll include my email address here. You're very welcome, Deborah. Thank you so much to everyone for joining today. I appreciate it, and I hope to talk to all of you again soon. Have a great rest of your week.